Welcome to the Rock Show with ASM, and today is a very, very special day. Of course, we have the returning hero, Nepali hero, Mr. Rizu Tuladhar. Rizu Dai, good to see you.
Same here.
Good
Nice
to see you. Long time coming. This is, of course, a special guest here today, Vilma Timonen. I hope I didn't butcher that name.
Perfect.
I did perfect, right. Vilma, thank you for the opportunity, for coming on the show, of course. We were talking off air about how this has been your visits to Nepal are reaching their teenage now at this time.
Yes. Yeah, I think 15th.
When was the first time that you came?
2013.
13.
Yeah,
So
so
in
about
this-
5 years back.
Wow, so in 5 years you've been here. Oh, that's. I think you should get just stay here.
I
Save
think,
up on the
yeah,
flights.
sometimes it would be easier, yeah.
And let's start off with you. How did you come across? What brought you here to Nepal to begin with?
Well, my job back home in Helsinki, in Finland, is that I work as a senior lecturer in Sibelius Academy, which is the only music university that we have in Finland that educates like performing artists.
Mm-hmm.
And I've worked there for quite a long time. And the university kind of started this, they had this idea of starting this collaboration together with Nepal Music Center here in Kathmandu.
Mm-hmm.
So then I kind of they asked me if I'm interested in participating to this project, and it's like, oh, Nepal sounds like fun. Why not? Let's go to Nepal. So that's where it started. But then I have been the one who is like coming here most often and like doing the intense work with my wonderful Nepali colleagues here. So that's how we actually met with Rizu.
Well, it's good to have you here.
Thank you.
I'm sure Rizu Dai has been a very, very productive Nepali colleague as well. Rizu Dai, it's always so good to see you. हाम्रो चाहिँ मिलाप चाहिँ यस्तो यस्तो बेला नभई gigs concert मात्रै हुन्छ. But every time we sit down, we talk about every time we sit down, we say we need to do a radio show, we need to interview you, and you're somebody I would like to have on this show multiple times because I think you have too many things to say. Tonight you're here as an educator, and tonight you are here as somebody who has worked steadfastly for the promotion of Nepali music as well. Of course, your work previously with the bands that you had, the rock endeavors that you had, morphing into what eventually became Kanta Dub, and how you've taken it forward is something we've seen for such a long time. How did you come across the connection with Vilma, and of course, how has Europe treated you and your tours been to you? How's everything going?
Well, which one do I start with?
You start with the heart because she's
Definitely, yeah. Like Vilma said, we met in 2013. And since then, we've been working together in different ways. And I've been also studying from them the music pedagogy class from the Sibelius Academy. And she's been also mentoring us. Alongside me is like John Shrestha from Sabin Rai.
Yes.
And the Para, and
Yes.
Kushal Karki,
Mm-hmm.
and Iman Bikram Shah. So we four were doing the course, which we actually completed last January.
Can you tell me a little bit about this course?
Well, it's I'm a little scared to say anything about this course because my mentor is here. Come on.
Yes. Well, she has a little pen and notebook grading you.
Writing the critics and then we reflect back.
So yeah, basically it's like she just said, it's like mostly about reflective method with our pedagogic, like from the reflective approach, how can we build our pedagogy, music pedagogy through a reflexive using the reflexive approach. So it's a lot about reflecting, of course, this word, and then again we have quite a big chunk that we had to cover on research. So we all were researching in our different fields as well, and yep, it wasn't that long. Well, only like 2.5 years for us, but maybe more for whoever is doing in Finland. You guys made it a little tailored for us, for the Nepalese, since we definitely we are working here. We cannot go and study in Finland, and it was a very nice opportunity as well for us. So that's how we met, and we've been doing that. as an educators, and we've been writing some curriculums together, music curriculums together, and we've been doing music together, collaborative with VTQ, that is Vilma, Timonen Quartet, and Kanta. We did a joint tour in Kathmandu, Pokhara, and around Kathmandu and Pokhara for, when was that, like 4 years back?
No. 2016.
Oh, okay. Not long back. Yeah,
you're getting -2 for that.
Well, lucky that
missed it.
so
this has been a fascinating thing to talk about for the longest time, because I had Iman Dai on the show as well, and we talked about finally music being brought into the curriculum, because structured music has been disregarded here on a mass level since the 90s. But since I was in school, I mean, you didn't pay attention in music class. The ones who did was just people who were interested in it. That's it. Or people who wanted to learn the chords to Summer of '69, so they could impress girls. Those are the only people in music rooms. But this change, because of the music curriculum that's brought, and the collaborations and studies, how is this going to shape music going forward? How do you see it shaping music going forward?
Well, what I see is like, there's a lot of things that we have as a musician, being in Nepali community, from where we all come from, that we have so much of potentials, but we just like haven't been able to use those potentials into that kind of platform where these potentials are also used to build up a musical person that you actually are.
Like an entity, a unique musical entity.
Basically. And to bring up that entity of originality of a person, that a unique person, actually we all are a unique person from like all different places. And if we could use these things that we have in our tradition, in our culture, but in a really formulated way, which has a goal towards where we are going, what we are like taking these students, what are we envisioning, and then where to go from there. So what's the platform for them? Like, are we talking about the Kathmandu market scene? Obviously not only, because definitely alongside we have to take with Kathmandu market scene or with Nepali market scene, but like actually the main goal would be to go global.
Of course.
So that's we are just like trying to create a little path towards it. And that's what we've been we presented at WOMEX as well to get some like paths going.
I need to preface before we go into the next topic. WOMEX is the world's biggest musical artistic expression exchange that exists. Of course, you had the honor of going this year. Is this your first time?
This is my second time.
This is your second time going to WOMEX, and this sort of meeting of minds from around the world, एउटा आदान प्रदान जुन not only your own knowledge but your own heritage, and you share many things. How has the experience been at WOMEX together and participating at this exchange?
Well, it's been this was the 35th edition of that event.
Where was this in Spain?
It was in Spain, in Canary Islands, Las Palmas.
Okay, Las Palmas.
This time. Next year, actually, Finland. So
close to home.
Very proud. The climate will not be quite the same as in Las Palmas, but
he'll leave the sweatshirts at home.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, anyway, so I've been participating, I think more or less like 10 years, been part of this network. And it's kind of like it's a like huge event, and really like, because it includes like everything, the artistic things and the commercial and the like the business side, labels, festival organizers. It's like a madhouse, like completely
the whole package.
Yeah. But like it's like the music that is presented in the showcase concerts, then like I was aware like already like years back. It's like, okay, Nepal is not here. It's like it's completely missing. So what we have is like a lot of African influenced music, European bands, US, like all that is there. But then where is, like, for example, Southeast Asia? And this is where we kind of started to, well, I've been talking about this event like for a long time here to people.
And you've attended this for 10 years nearly now.
Yeah.
So, and you've seen minimal Southeast Asian representation.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's
because they're not informed, or...
Well, this is the trick. Like, I don't know. I mean, of course, the finances is there. I mean, you have to cover it. The registration is quite high, the fee.
Okay.
And then, of course, you have to cover the travels and the
accommodations
and all that. But then I think like more than just about the financial opportunities. I mean, this is my... Like, okay, there is money in the world and it can be found. But like, if the mindset is not there, if like people don't understand what could be the potential, like participating to this and like working together, supporting each other, and like it doesn't mean like all of a band, like the whole band has to go there. That doesn't make any sense. But like, what about if there's one representative who represents like more, like many bands? It's just like building the mindset and knowledge about, like Rizu said, like, okay, if we want, like Nepali, like there's so many excellent bands, like, I mean, from in the traditional music and in pop rock, and like that's there. But like, how could we kind of build that kind of those kind of practices and the mindset, the capacity to kind of understand that, okay, this world market is also for us.
Yes.
And then we just have to find ways how to enter. So
and
that
the right platform as well.
Yeah, so that's what has been our mission in these two WOMEX, that he's been participating as well.
Well, it's a great start. I mean, if there was anyone I wanted represented for all our Nepali music, it's him. He's basically played all Nepali music at this point.
Yeah, I'm pretty old.
No. Pretty old.
But I think I'll have to wear that
just to hide your age. And what Rizu Dai looking fine as always, and Vilma Timonen here in the studio. Now, Rizu Dai, of course, I have to come straight to you with this question. WOMEX. We need to get the word a little bit out about that as well. Now, as we just discussed, it's this huge exchange of, I think I read this, it was 4,000 musicians, 85 countries that are involved, and it's just, how long is it? How many days is it?
Four
nights, 5 days.
Yeah.
4 nights, 5 days. All right. So, your experience representing Nepal, Nepali music, and what did you see? What wealth of knowledge did you gain? Like, how's the experience been going to WOMEX?
Well, it's the first WOMEX last year. I was very much overwhelmed by like whatever was going there. It's crazy. Like she said, everyone is there. You name it, what we need for a musician to go forward. Everyone, everything is there. But it's like a tank, like a shark tank. So it's you're buying, you're selling, or you're presenting your band, or what's your goal? What's your agenda to go into the WOMEX? So you have to be a clear mind of like what you are going for.
Why are you here?
Why you're here? So are you going for your band promotion? Are you going for your festival promotion? So if you're a band, then you're trying to sell something.
Yeah.
If you're a festival, you're a buyer. And are you an academic presenting a paper? And are you trying to fish for like let's say labels or agents? So it has a lot of different potentials. The thing what I found is like the bands who are showcased there, and it's not a joke. They get like around 20,000 applications for showcases.
Wow.
And around 20 bands showcase.
Out of 20,000.
Out of 20,000. So it's a tough.
That's tough to ask.
And last year, Night did it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So last year, the first ever Nepalese to be there was like Night showcased it, and I was there as an observer, as a student actually. So And what is really neat, and also what I saw, well, let me finish that part, is like Womex uses, or like, the world music scene. Basically, it has been the talk as well. You might differ with me this on a bit. Like, the world is catering. Who are the people that the musicians are catering to? It's mostly the Western world. So the so-called Western music, or like not Western music, fusion or world music, has becoming like using some exotic element into ensemble, actually of Western ensemble. So
fusion, fusion.
Yeah.
In the proper word, yes.
That is what the fusion has been like
for
gradually.
the longest time,
But like again, like Zakiru said one time, it's such an interesting word, because like this particular raga came from Pakistan to India, and it got changed, it got infused, and this became a different one, and which is not the same like this, like from India or same from Pakistan. So fusion actually existed like 100 years before.
Oh yeah, of course.
So that's a different perspective of looking at into fusion again.
Well, of course,
right.
Because I think even the sitar went through like 7 incarnations before it settled on
yeah,
the word sitar.
Yeah,
sitar came from Afghanistan all the way down, and from Persia.
From Persia.
So that's actually true.
So it's all like fusion is not only that. So fusion could be in a lot of different ways. Yeah. That's one thing being said. Being said that, and then I, like Vilma said, there's been a lot of African representatives. Very less of Southeast Asia. There are some of India, very nominal.
Carnatic music?
Yeah, sometimes Carnatic, and very less. So what we see is like there's a big potential of this unexplored world of Nepal, and which is actually very exotic for the Western world, and also not only the place as like we have mountains and stuff, but like the culture. The culture of music, or the musicians who are like doing so many different things. Actually, we have musicians who do not know that they are musicians, or like practitioners, like they are like normal, and then normal. I mean, like who has a shopkeeper or something, and then in the evening he has to play this one,
and he plays it so well.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like awesome, right? So if we can get these kind of mindset. Of like getting ideas from all of this and then making it in a perfect performing art band, then definitely we can nail it.
And music over here is so gypsy-like as well, in the sense that there is no commercial interest, like Hizopani, like when you go to places like Chasel, or there are people who are singing every single evening in beautiful unison. Because there's no pressure on it to make money off that music or anything. It's something that they've heard all their lives. This sort of knowledge that is going, of course, through you and bands like Night, that's being updated basically. What is the one thing that you think, let's not say lacking, what is the one thing that we need to take the step forward in promoting Nepali music? For both of you, I can ask that question actually. What do you think is that one step? Is it a gradual thing? Do we need to keep doing this every year, or is there a certain page we need to turn?
Well, of course, it's a gradual thing, and you can't of course, it helps if there would be all of a sudden some big success of some band.
Yeah.
That helps to create the buzz.
No.
But then it's all about networking, and it takes time to build the network, and like Rizu said, it's like the first time it's just like, wow, it's really hard to digest, okay, what's happening. But then second year, I could see him go there, and he knew so many people. I was like, oh wow. So it's kind of this network that builds up slowly as well. And it's quite important to kind of think about this, okay, how do you maintain, how do you say hi to people through Facebook or through email, and then if you have any question, then they might know someone who might actually be able to do exactly what you need, and that's how it works. And what I like about Womex is as a platform, it's very even if it's about business, it's very much supportive, and everyone is there for the same cause, to make this world better through music. And so kind of like you never have to be afraid of like, even if it's a really big guy or like something, is like, okay, just go and say hi, and then like you get into talking. So but it takes time, and building networks and maintaining the networks, it's a lifelong project for anyone. So
that's never going to stop. Any interesting stories do you have of being overwhelmed at WOMEX or getting lost? I don't know.
Did you mean to say getting lost or getting drunk?
Well, I mean, those could be the same thing.
Oh, I mean, like, WOMEX is really, really crazy in a sense that it starts from 10 in the morning, like the conferences and the expo. So, okay. Let me start from the night. Okay. It starts from night. The showcases, it starts like from 9 o'clock.
Right.
And then showcases, like so many showcases going in different arenas.
5 different stages.
And it goes until 1 o'clock. And then after 1 is after party.
DJ Summit.
So
at the night, 1 a.m.
Showcasing the DJs.
So there's a showcasing DJs, right?
Okay.
So it goes until 4.
Right.
So how long you want to stay, it's all up on you.
What time do you have to get up the next day?
Well, next day starts at 10 o'clock.
And 4 days. Imagine that.
Wait.
Do you have any recollection of the 4 days?
And like the next day is an expo, right?
Yeah.
But in every stands, right after 12 hits, then there is like...
Mexicans are offering like mojitos. Polish people are offering their special vodka.
They brought their heritage.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you take Ela from here?
Well, last year
should have.
Last year you didn't. You were not there. Last year I did. But like, come on, we gotta have a stand to do that.
Yeah.
And to buy a stand is for
just two. Okay.
We have to come as a whole country, and then we have to think: can we buy? Is it offerable or not? Or maybe I was even thinking about this thing, like maybe how about like talking to a lot of friends from like Southeast Asia, like Bangladesh, Nepal.
Having one together for Southeast Asia.
And one stand together would be nice. And
4,000 people, 85 countries, that place deserves, like, I think a stand over there, a stall over there is definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. So you continue. Yes, your story.
So, I mean, like, so they start at 12. This country is like happy hour. And this country is next up. And you have to go there, actually. You know why?
Courtesy.
All the people are there. Like anyone who is anyone, they're
is
there.
Okay,
So you will bang into like one of the guys. Like, oh, this guy, like, or that's.
And sometimes those are the best places to network.
Exactly.
That is probably. Satish Dai once told me this. He said the best place to do business, for music is at the bar.
Yeah.
Yes.
He said more business deals get done at the bar in music than in any place in the world.
Yeah.
True that.
And WOMEX carries that.
Wow.
They becomes bar in the like from 12 o'clock.
This sounds like a fascinating place.
And it is fun. You get like free wines, free vodkas, free whatsoever, and drinks, food, but like to carry it all day and then all night and then all day and then all night for 4 days. It's
a good thing you've had experience for 15 years to do that.
Well, 15 years of experience wasn't enough.
Not enough to mix all those drinks together at 1 in the morning. But it sounds fascinating. Like, it really does. And I really think, I can't speak for the rest of South Asia, but at least for Nepal, I would say there are so many things. Like even in the blues festival that happened, there was an Asangunya Baza ko tyo Toli Pantyo. So people are actually discovering that there's these are music that we took for granted because they were always there. Jaile pani huncha ni jatra bhairako थियो. I grew up around these places, so you just get so used to these things.
That's we applied for a conference presentation for this year, and I think it was like more than 400 applications that they got. And we got selected to present, and I think that was mainly because of Nepal. Because we were talking about our collaboration, but especially like we wanted to highlight and share things about like Nepali music scene, and particularly the Echoes in the Valley festival that Rizu initiated
in Kathmandu, then in Banepa.
And especially the big festival Kanta. So we shared like there's some really nice pictures and videos and the philosophy of like what is happening, and I think that's also one way. I think it's a beautiful example on how this event, how this festival kind of like it rises from the community. It comes from inside, but then like we can find ways to kind of engage people from like international people in different ways, but then like it can't be like it has to be very considered quite carefully, like how you like what kind of people
predatory.
do you want to bring in, and like so that they are sharing this similar mindset. But like that festival, I can see that has a lot of potential of becoming really, really like the hip thing in the world music. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
World music market. Because it's like, and of course, because it's the originality. I mean, it's the ethnic, like local musicians doing their thing, and that is fascinating. You can't see that in many places.
But that is amazing. That and seeing Daniel Givon and Hari Marjan in the middle of Asan Market playing gypsy jazz is one of the most surreal things, because you have all these 50, 60-year-old Nevars looking at him. They don't understand what's happening, but they know it's good, because you can tell looking at their faces. They might not understand the structure of gypsy jazz, but when something good hits you, it hits you. And it was one of those things. I remember seeing that whole semicircle of middle-aged Nevari guys just looking at him going, okay, these guys can play. Welcome back to The Rock Show with ASM in the last quarter of this show, of course, with Mr. Rizu Tuladhar and Vilma Timonen. So good to have you guys here. Now, we were talking about this instrument, and Rizu sort of briefed me about how you are the one-woman renaissance for the instrument known as kantele.
Yes.
Did I pronounce that right? Kantele?
Yeah, kantele.
Can you preface this story with what kantele is before you tell this story? What sort of instrument this is?
It's a string instrument. Well, it's actually a family of instruments. The smallest ones have 5 strings, and that's the traditional model. And nowadays, the biggest ones have 39 strings, plus this kind of mechanism that gives the opportunity to play in any key and like any kind of music. So. Open strings, it's kind of like a harp, but with a sound box. So the sound is like, the sustain is much longer than in a harp. Like if you plug a harp string, it's like boom. Right. But then like kantele is like boom, long.
Has the sustain.
Yeah.
Right. And so this instrument has been around in your culture for the Scandinavian. Is it just exclusive to Finland or Scandinavia?
Actually, no, not Scandinavia, which is quite interesting, because like Finland is located like we're geographically like part of the Russia, like that part. So actually there's no kanteles in other Scandinavian countries.
Wow.
But in the like the areas of the former Soviet Union, but all the way to Ural mountains.
The Eurasian mountains.
And then like south, like the Baltic countries, they all have their own versions of these instruments. So it's more like that cultural area that holds this kind of instrument tradition.
And how old is this instrument?
Well, we can't know for sure, of course, but one very important like musical language of Finnish speaking people has been this kind of rune singing. So that has been what has been part of our culture, and quite a lot of research have been done, like analyzing the different poems and locating them in different eras. And in the poems that we can date back around 2,000 years, they sing about kantele.
2,000 years?
Yeah. But it's like, I mean, of course, we can't know exactly what it, like how it was, but then like it's one of the epic tales that we have in Finland, like how the very first kantele was made. And if you think about like other things that they explain in those poems, it's like, oh, how was the world created, and like where did the fire come from? and then they to explain like how the first kantele came
really
to existence. So it has to be something meaningful for the culture, like throughout. So
the mythological, that sounds really, really fascinating. And on the brink of its existence being almost erased or forgotten, let's say, is where you came in. Now, yes, you can toot your horn a little bit. The amplification of this instrument. Tell us how.
So actually, well, if you think about 2,000 years back, like how the world what has happened in the, like, it's like huge, like changes, and if you think, like, there is not so many instruments in this world that have always survived. They have found their place in the current culture. The most toughest time for kantele was after the Second World War, like 1950s, 1960s. That was a time when in our country, like, people would start moving from the countryside to the cities, and the industrialization and TV and radio, pop and rock. That was all. That was there. So before that, there was a saying that there is a kantele in every house. So that's how common it was. But then at that time it was considered a little bit, because the sound is quite sensitive, it's like not so loud, so it was kind of opposite to everything that the new culture would bring. So, but then fortunately there were quite a few people who kind of saw the value and did a lot of work for that, and I started my studies, the professional studies, in 1996, and that was the time when the first electric kanteles were developed, which has been like a tremendous help. I mean, for me as a musician, I mean, then I can go and play with anyone I want in any kind of setting that I want, because I don't have to worry about how to amplify the sound, the traditional kanteles sound. So now it's there and it's doing good. We have lots of young people who are interested in playing and making the music, and
it's played in all different kinds of genre nowadays, right?
Every genre.
Have you played this instrument?
Well, no, I've touched it. It's pretty hard. It's pretty hard. I mean, I'm a bass player.
I like my instruments like this.
Or I would just play this one. Like, this is not my thing. Vilma, would you play the chord? Put the chord here. I'll just do the same.
It's a two-man group for one instrument. Well, I mean, a story like that hits closer to home as well, because there's so many instruments even in our country on the brink of being forgotten. But of course, there've been a lot of endeavors in the last few years through many educational institutions that are pushing for ethnomusicology and basically how to preserve the arts that we've had here for how many years now? The gypsies, the caravans, the Nepali musicians. It's just been around for how many years now? It's you can't really put into.
Well, you cannot. And actually, one of the sad part about it is we didn't have this habit of writing down or documenting. Like the Europeans had this, at least the songs maybe. Or so at least you can trace it out. Oh, there was a song in this time, and so that was way more before that. But we have songs, but we do not have things that has been written down. So it's we did this one workshop with First Production. They took care of that, amazing guys from
of course,
of us, like Rohit and everyone, Rajan, and then
brilliant.
They did one workshop. I was about the history and tradition and culture and the movement of the whole thing. So what they did is they lined up 10 people, and the last one would draw something on his back and pass it down. So and the guy who's on the front would have to draw it on a paper, whatever he got, and then he goes and show it to the last one. Is totally different.
That's passing down word of mouth, right?
That's what our culture has been.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean that it's been totally different. It might not be.
It's a little skewed, just a little.
Yeah, and it's there in every culture.
Yeah.
Like West Africa or like Europe, wherever. It's there. But what if we could just document the changes? Then we could have learned so much from these small changes as well. That would, we don't want to stop whatever changes is there. It's bound to happen. It's natural.
Yeah.
But we'll learn so much more from these small changes as well. Like, why?
Why did we do it?
I have to say, it's like it has played a quite remarkable role. The education in Sibelius Academy, my university, the folk music education, because it was never actually the ethnomusicological approach, but it was artistic approach.
Right.
And this is where I think like a lot of work can be done. Like what does contemporary traditional musician mean in Nepal? What could it mean, or how to kind of explore these kind of artistic expressions?
Right.
So it's not just like preserving through creating something.
Well, it's not
new.
being preserved for the sake of being preserved.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Then it's museum, and we need that as well.
Yeah.
Like Rizu said, archiving. But then,
Right.
what does it mean for artists?
Like you have a young batch of pupils who are learning this instrument for the intense purposes of only creating music on it. If you have something like that, that's going to last longer than just keeping something in a glass box and preserving it.
Like you said, there are now, let's say, even though it's ethnomusicology, Kathmandu University, where I work as well, it's the ensemble class where I take is they are not learning the instrument for the sake of preserving the music that was before. They are using those as a reference, but creating their own music now. Yeah. And that's like going with that music, with that instrument, taking it forward.
Right.
And it's like basically like, I mean, every kid who wants to be in music, I mean, is into music. What is their goal? Is to become a musician, be able to play. And like, then it's just a matter of tools. Like, if it's the electric guitar, fine. Could it be sarangi? Could it be something like, how could we incorporate, like, so that maybe these traditional instruments would kind of find a way and into being one of the tools for expression for
in honest
musicians.
Honest expression.
Yes.
Also because
exactly.
In today's world, and this is not meant to be disrespectful, but when instrument like sarangi, like maybe I'm different, I can listen to a sarangi solo concert for hours, but I can't listen to a sarangi cover a Pink Floyd song.
Yeah.
And I know why it's being done. It's being done because that'll get it views, and that's what today's world is also. Is you need that sort of impetus, but at the same time, I mean, I'd rather hear the sarangi be the sarangi,
or like sarangi speaking out the honest composition of someone personal.
Absolutely. Didn't we have this? There was this amazing contestant on The Voice of Nepal, who is a Gandharva, one of the Gandharvas.
Bharta.
And that's the thing. Yeah, and I think our country Nepal is endowed with a lot of these instruments and a lot of these stories. Personally, I guess. I think it's almost time for us to go. I see he started pacing himself already. Thank you so much. Of course, before we go, both of you are here. Your further studies, your further observations, and the collaboration that you're doing is going to take Nepali music forward. What do you see? 2020 is too early, maybe, but what do you see in the next 5 years? Like, what is the goal? What is the goal here?
There is a lot.
There's a lot.
I think there is a lot.
Can you summarize in three top ones?
Okay. Like you said about the sarangi, for me being a bass player, or someone playing guitar, for them as well, getting the ideas from these ethnic sounds that we have, and then how can we become different, even though playing a bass or a drum kit. And these are some kind of identities that a person can create without having to play sarangi again, who doesn't have a knowledge of playing sarangi, if someone chooses to. Right. But they can always use the knowledge of what sarangi players are using.
Yeah.
So these and it is just like being a different, trying to find your own voice through your own instrument.
And for me, those own voices that have been discovered, I want to see them enter the world market.
Yeah, I think and I think this generation is going to do it.
Yeah.
I think in different genres of music, be it rock, metal, reggae, and electronic music, I think it's going to happen. I think it's already started happening.
Yep.
I saw it with the blues. Ranjan Jha is doing it with electronic music, and I think it's going to happen more. I look forward to your next visit to Vomix and documenting that as well. Please come back. Please come back. This has been a fascinating conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Vilma. And Rizu Dai, next time you come, I'll get you a gift. In conversation with Rizu Tuladhar and Vilma Timonen, say good night to all the fans, and I will see you next week, same time, same place on Radio Nagarik 96.5, The Rock Show with ASM, signing out.